Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life, because really we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted spirit baby medium who facilitates deep soul healing by channeling divine messages.
And I'm your other host, Natalie, an intuitive mentor and transformative healer.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube, and you can also follow us on the gram at McJaguar and at Intuitively Natalie for more weirdo and woo-woo content.
And if you like this episode, please rate and review and subscribe and share it on social media and tag us so that more people can unleash their weird with you.
Woo-woo!
Do you ever get congested when you start to channel information? I feel like when I feel like my guides come in, I start to get when we start to record, I get congested.
Oh, interesting. I find that if I'm feeling shitty and I channel, I feel better while I'm channeling.
I have not had that experience yet, but
also, I have all my plants inside because I've been redoing my balcony. So of course there's some little extra creatures, but it's hard for me to tell if it's like a sprite or a real bug. Oh. So you might see me doing this. I have a friend who's going through an awakening and she's like, oh my God, I can see so many things. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking trippy. You just see things out of the corner of your eye and light flashes and stuff going in between, like little weaving in between times. And I'm just so used to that now.
Do you have fairies in your plants?
Me and the fairies, I'll say this. I mean, I probably should do a little bit more work with them. They were the ones that it was just hard for me to believe in my shamanic classes that they existed. Like I could accept all these other things. And then we got to fairies, which of course I loved fairies as a kid. I don't understand why that was my trip up point. My teacher said that fairies are they're kind of like hummingbird energy. Like they're very love and delicate and they don't swear words and cuss words. And I was like, oh fuck.
That's why we don't get along.
Me and the fairies. But they can also be kind of nasty and mean and play jokes on you and do kinds of,
they're like Sour Patch Kids, like those commercials. Yeah.
They're kind of mischievous, if that's a good way to describe it, at times when they want to be. Mm-hmm. But no, I probably should make a little fairy house for them, invite them in. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
But if you see me going like this on the YouTube,
just catching sprites.
I'm catching sprites or bugs. How fun.
Same. I feel like. Well, if you listen to last week's episode with Sarah, love her. If you haven't listened, go listen because it's so funny.
It's so hilarious.
She's hilarious. She has such a niche market being a comedian and an astrologer. There's just lightness to the work that she does.
Yeah, it is so true.
Switch and a nice funny way. Not. Oh, it's really good. But if you watched us on YouTube, I don't know if you watched it, she sort of spilled a secret. Unintentionally.
But that's when you're intuitive and you're tapped in, you say things that sometimes people are like, what? Who told you? And I was going to screenshot our face reaction because we were both like, oh.
Yeah, because I haven't told anybody. I'm sure people know, but we are finally pregnant.
Yay. That was my drum roll.
Thank you. I told my newsletter subscribers at the time that this comes out, it'll be last week. So
yeah,
some people know. And that's why I've been kind of MIA on social media because it's just it's too much. It's too much. Really overstimulated.
I'm so excited because it's really hard to keep a secret and not say things and not hint at things. So but I think what is so cool is that you have used so many spiritual tools to support you in this pregnancy, from getting pregnant to getting through the early days of,
we're still in it.
Still in those days. And then, I'm curious maybe what you think you might pull in moving, down the pregnancy journey. So
I know I'm really excited actually to see what comes up. I'm gonna start counseling because we've been a little depressed. Yeah. And I think it's great that some people go on medication and it helps them so much. And it's okay. I'm not going to say it's okay. I did lie to my doctor. You know, they're always like going through the mental health questions, like, oh, are you this? Are you that? Are you depressed? And I'm like, nope, just fine. Because like, you're not going to fix it. I don't want a pill. I'm going to see a counselor. Actually, my first session with a counselor is tonight. So I'm excited. This, like, I feel like just like a lot of stuff has been coming up.
Yeah.
I saw on TikTok, obviously, that this therapist or counselor said most people don't inhabit their body from the neck down.
Ooh.
Like most of the time, it's just like a coping mechanism to just be kind of in your head more than in your body. Cause like, especially your lower body where all of your trauma is stored and all these emotions that, oh my God, that we don't want to like talk about. Sorry, I'm like really gassy. I can't help it. So I have this theory, a working theory, and I'm going to work the therapist that I'm going to go see. She's like a somatic counselor. So she does body work stuff too. And I think that that's part of it. It's just like being pregnant and it's like pulling me down into those lower parts of my body.
Oof.
And it's like bringing up stuff that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
So, and this bitch is a Scorpio.
Surprise! Healing from the inside. Okay. So that's interesting that you say that, because I also, like when I talk to babies, I feel that like when they're in there, it's kind of like, they're like, well, since I'm here, might as well bring this stuff up.
Clear this out.
I don't pull that stuff out and got access to this. And so they do that, especially if you're having a baby that's doing healing work, they will start in the womb space, even before sometimes, and do that, you know, because they're there to help hold that space. And because like, you probably wouldn't have done this otherwise, right?
Yeah, probably not.
So it's like, she's kind of like, or he's kind of like, you know, hey, it's time to, you know, go in there and do that. Right. And figure stuff out. And cause I'm coming. So
yeah. I don't know what it all means yet, but I'm excited to like get in there. And I said in our first season, like, I don't understand therapy or counseling, or like, it doesn't really work. And I actually kind of maintain that.
Yeah.
But I am excited to have the space held for me because I know what I want out of it.
Yeah.
Like very clearly communicated. Like I need somebody to ask me the right questions to figure this out myself. Like I'm not expecting her to do the work for me. Like this is purely work I need to do. I just need somebody to therapize me. Because it's not fair to dump on my partner.
Yes.
My friends. Like that's just not fair to them.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility.
And I think a good therapist and a good therapeutic experience is very much that. Yeah. Like they don't do it for you, but they hold the space, they ask the right questions, they reflect back to you. So you can be like, oh, okay. Yeah, I am hearing that. I am seeing that. And I love my therapist. She's really helped a lot. We're going to talk about some of the topics that she helped me to see in different perspectives today as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to talk about that.
But let's first talk about this little bean. What did you do before to get pregnant? Spiritual tool wise.
This is our 10th attempt. So we did a lot of crying prior.
About a lot of sperm.
A lot of disappointment. Lots of sperm.
Good morning, sperm.
I know. I did just a bunch of like clearing, and I felt like I was readying for pregnancy, and I thought I was clearing like a lot of maternal trauma around like getting pregnant or whatever. And it turns out there's probably more there. I
remember you were talking to me and like, you know, we were like testing and you thought you were pregnant. You're getting all these muscle tools, and then it wasn't happening. And you started to get a little frustrated, if I may say so. But like, what helped you kind of like realize that like you were testing for some things, like you were testing for pregnancy, but weren't actually pregnant yet? Like, how did you resolve that?
Oh, that was so confusing. Actually, I was really mad at muscle testing because it had been like such a reliable tool for me.
Yeah.
And then my guides explained that like, it's best to only muscle test for things that like don't change, that can't change, things that are like more like facts or not like truths, if that makes sense. And the way that I use it in Psych K is much different. It's very guided and specific, so that I totally trust that muscle testing. But doing it on myself, I was testing that I was pregnant and then I wouldn't be pregnant, and I was pissed. And we actually talked about it, that you have to separate it, like spiritually, energetically, I was pregnant,
Yeah.
but physically was not. And like when I went back and was more specific with my muscle testing, then it showed up like, oh yeah, physically I'm not pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and if you do your own testing on anything, if you want to know like where you are, check all the layers, check physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Right. And if things are off or not testing, then you kind of have an area of like, okay, like I'm ready to be pregnant. Like my mental state is great. You know, emotionally, I'm feeling really good, but like maybe you're just so disconnected from source. You had a bad experience when you were younger with religion or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so, and that's tied to maybe your understanding of pregnancy and all this kind of stuff. The baby wants you to heal that or fix that or address that. So that, because it's an all layers approach to getting pregnant from what I've heard.
So interesting. Yeah.
From what
like
they tell me.
It's been a real journey.
Yeah. And physical is the last place, right?
It
So
is.
spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, down
the
in.
last layer.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what they're also kind of saying to me is sometimes you can get physically pregnant, right? But then you might have to deal with the emotional or the mental layers of that with that pregnancy, which is sometimes when people make decisions to, you know, not continue the pregnancy or not continue a relationship, that kind of stuff. So it does come in other orders depending on the baby.
And what you need.
But when you're trying to conceive, it's a little bit different, right? Versus if you get sort of pregnant unexpectedly is what they're saying to me.
Unexpectedly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You might have to other layers to work to keep that baby, right? Or to make those decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm friends with muscle testing again, now that we figured it out.
She's back on your couch,
yeah,
hanging out. Okay. So then once you got pregnant,
I was shocked.
you were shocked.
I did not believe it. I texted you the morning that like, I just took a test because I was like, well, I just want to know. Because if not, I'm going to get my period. Like the moon in Cancer was coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And you had gotten your period, like maybe you've been trying for maybe a couple of months. So you were just like, whatever.
I know. I was like, I really don't like, I did not think that it was going to be positive. And then like we get the super sensitive test from the hospital. So I beat on that, and Jenna was getting ready for work. And then I like looked at it and I was like, oh, that's negative. And I walked away and I like got dressed or whatever. And then I walked back in to go throw it away. And there was a fucking line there. And I said it to you. I was like, there's a lot, like there's a line. There's a line.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just that moment. You were though. I remember like for maybe like the first month, you were like, yeah, you know, I don't know. And yeah, that you could feel that little bit of just like, and do you think that was like just a protection or just like a shock or like what, you know?
I think it could have been. I still feel really unattached to the whole thing, to the outcome. And I think just having so many disappointments prior to this has kind of actually helped me have this unattachment. There's not so much pressure on it. Coming to fruition. I'm just like taking it day by day. Yeah. It's not like a hopeless thing. It's just like okay, today I'm pregnant. Right now I'm pregnant. Like, I don't know, that could change tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah. So your baby is asking me, when will you be excited?
I feel like when I start feeling better, could you have a conversation with her about that?
Yeah. Let's talk about that too, because that was so interesting. So you were, this is my site, Kay, you were clearing all kinds of things around like, around pregnancy and illness, right? And if we think about society and we think about the images of pregnancy, like, oh, it's first trimester and throwing up and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And we were kind of theorizing, like, maybe that's what you need to feel pregnant, right? Like, how do I know I'm pregnant? Oh, I'm throwing up. Oh, I'm feeling this thing, right?
Like validation.
So you cleared so much of that, and yet it was still there.
Thought I did.
And then how did you get the idea to check the sperm donor?
Oh my God. Okay. So I want to go back to like how we actually got pregnant.
Oh yeah. I skipped the best part.
Because like, it was so weird how it happened. Like we were going to stop trying. I went to my acupuncturist, like actually the day we conceived. I had like gotten in, I was like, all right, I'm going to start acupuncture, like to see if that helps, whatever. Cause we're just like, it's not working. We're not getting pregnant. And I go to my acupuncturist and she's like, oh yeah, you need to stop for like 3 to 4 months. And like that week we hadn't planned on picking up sperm, but like, I just had this feeling. I was like, I don't know, like I would be so sad if we didn't try. Like I didn't think it was going to work, but I was like, for some reason I would feel so sad if we didn't try. And then you're not supposed to get tattooed when you're pregnant. Like I had already scheduled a tattoo that like would have happened after conception.
Okay.
And this little babe got that tattoo appointment moved to preconception. She was like, hey, I have an opening. Do you want it? And I was like, oh, yeah. Which like never happens. That's never happened before.
Right. Never. No.
Never.
With tattoos, especially. No.
Yeah. So I like took it and then like acupuncture the same day that we were going to conceive. And she was like, oh, don't conceive. And we were like, oh, I already have the sperm, so I'm going to do it.
What was the tattoo? What was the tattoo that you got?
It's this one's cactus.
Oh,
and like, it's really
it.
funny because like the nursery theme or whatever was always going to be like cactus, like Southwestern.
You guys, I just like to point out the signs here. Okay.
The signs. You can't.
Moving appointments,
deny.
cactus tattoos, having this just feeling. Right. And I think so many times people like brush that off.
Yeah.
But that's an intuitive hit.
I was like totally fine waiting 3 or 4 months, but I could not miss this for some reason, like could not miss this opportunity.
Ooh, so many chills.
So I was like talking to my guides, or maybe I was meditating on it. I don't remember. And I was like, it's got to be done differently. Like the way that we've been doing it obviously is not working, which is basically taking like a 3 ml syringe and just like squirting it in the dark.
Yeah.
Like squirting it in there and seeing what happens. So I do not like the Western medical system. I feel like I have not been quiet about that. And I am unwilling to pay thousands of dollars to go have somebody do IUI in office. So my guides were like, have you checked Amazon? And like, I looked on Amazon. I was like, well, why not? Fuck it. Why not? So I Googled like IUI catheters, and this is not medical advice.
Not medical advice.
Medical advice. It's like that.
You might not want to do this at home.
You might not, but you could. So because I don't have any diagnosed fertility issues. I had like regular periods. I was very clearly ovulating every month. Like those were not issues. So I didn't, like my guides were like, it's mechanics.
Yeah.
It's gotta be mechanics.
Yeah.
So I Googled IUI catheters. I'm like, sure as shit. They have everything on Amazon. So I bought an IUI catheter, I bought 2 of them. I bought pre-seed lube, which is sperm friendly lube.
Okay.
Because most lube is actually sperm hostile.
Right.
And then I bought speculums. We have like 25 speculums.
Why 25? You have to buy like a big pack on Amazon.
Yeah, it was only like $10, but now we have a bunch.
Get your speculums. Get your speculums. You get a speculum.
Yes. And you need the lube. If you're going to use a speculum at home, you need the lube. So
speaking from personal experience.
And then again on TikTok, I saw somebody say to take Mucinex, like while you're ovulating or like 3 days before you try to conceive, because it thins secretions. Obviously, it doesn't discriminate what secretions those are. So like I was breathing great and had thin cervical mucus.
Okay. Which can stop the sperm.
Yes.
Right?
You can have
slow them down.
Mm-hmm. And then they won't be able to, swim up there. So we were like, fuck it. Like, let's just try it. And Jenna works in a perioperative area. So she talked to one of the OBs there and like asked him how they do it in office, like fully told her like we're going to do it at home.
Oh, I was just like, can you imagine Jenna be like super casual? Like, so if I was going to, how does that work?
Get someone pregnant.
The benefits of the nurse life.
I know. And actually like she didn't have to tell us how to do it. It's pretty intuitive, pretty straightforward for how to do it. It's just a longer catheter. So we have like headlamps. Jenna had a headlamp and we did it at home with a speculum and a super long catheter. And we didn't do like full on IUI because apparently my cervix likes to hide. When you ovulate, it like retracts.
Okay.
It actually goes up and it's harder to find. So it took like actually a really long time for her to be able to like visualize my cervix.
Yeah.
But she found it and then just like put the catheter in the Oz, which is the hole in your cervix that actually opens a little bit when you're ovulating.
Okay.
And we just like happened to do it at the right time, like before the egg dropped, and we got like the sperm in there. And then It's important also, not medical advice, to make sure that your sperm is IUI ready if you're using donor sperm. You can't do IUI with just like someone, jizzing in a cup.
I knew you were going to say that.
It has to be like washed and ready to be able to do that at home, because
why can't you just use that cup of sperm?
I think it has something to do with like, maybe there might be contaminants in the seminal fluid. So your cervix is your uterus is kind of a closed environment. And
so if you're bypassing it, you're bypassing the body's natural systems to get rid of that junk. I see.
Yeah. So if you have a friend who's donating and you're using that sperm in the moment, you cannot do this.
Can you do it the regular way that you did before? Yeah. Okay. With the
the way that I got pregnant the first time when we were using a friend's sperm, was he went and made a donation, and then we poured it in a menstrual cup, like a Diva cup, and just put it in overnight.
Oh,
I got pregnant first time.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's how we got pregnant. Maybe a little more information than you wanted to know, but I feel like it's really important for queer couples to know, like, it doesn't have to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, there are stuff that you can do if you don't have like underlying or other fertility issues. I was shocked.
Yeah. Or even like single parents that want to, do this, and maybe have a friend who's a nurse or somebody who you would want to see your cervix with headlamps come in. I mean, pretty intimate partnership there, but yeah, like, I think it's just that extra struggle that queer couples have to go through that sucks. And so it's nice that you found a way.
I knew there was a way. I knew there was a way. And I'm so glad we found it.
Yeah. I mean, what a journey.
What a journey. I know. And love Jenna that she was willing to look my cervix in the eye. I'm not going to lie. It took some Psych K to shift her fears around it.
Yeah. Well, and that you have that support, right, to do Psych K when things come up during this process, right?
Yeah, so nice.
And it's nice. Like, yeah, if anyone wants to get supported while they're having babies, go see Natalie, because she can help you.
It helps so much.
Stuff that comes up. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
I have a whole list ready for you.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited.
Okay. So fast forward, pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling nauseous and sick and
I was fine until like 5.5, almost 6 weeks. And then I was not fine. I feel like I was just spiraling because it was so awful. And my mom was like, oh, I didn't have any symptoms. She didn't know she was pregnant until she was 17 weeks the first go around. Yeah. And I'm like, I knew at 3.
Yeah.
But I've been having I have raging food aversions. Everything sounds terrible. So if I don't eat, I'm nauseous. If I do eat, I'm nauseous. I haven't been able to digest anything, but I got some digestive enzymes and that's getting better finally.
Good.
I have been depressed. I had tooth sensitivity. I've been getting headaches. I've been unable to work out because I get so exhausted. It's like I don't have the capacity. I don't have my heart rate shoots up.
Oh wow.
I feel just super fatigued. Those have been the least fun. And I'm like, it's been the least fun thing I've ever done, I think, in my whole life. But I was so miserable. I was so miserable. And I couldn't, eating was terrible. And eating is one of my joys in life. And I was like, what joy is there left? I was just feeling so depressed. And Jenna had a session with her healer, which is actually, we are interviewing her. Our next episode is going to be with Lindsay, her healer. And I can't wait to talk about that. But she said that there was actually a trauma imprint from the donor. And it made so much sense. It made so much sense because when I was like, oh shit. I didn't even think about that because this donor, we had gotten so many signs that this was the right donor and this was a good donor to pick. And so after she actually called that out, I felt better. And then she was do some work around it. So I went, into his energy and did some shifting for the baby and for me and for him. And oh my God, I've always had like an uneasiness about sperm donation,
Mm.
especially with this donor, because he donated like over 150 times. It was
Oh.
like, it's populate the earth energy. And it felt like really bitter and like really
Mm.
misogynistic. And it felt like, and I don't, this is maybe not his conscious intention, but like energetically, subconsciously, like he wanted whoever got pregnant to suffer. I
Oh,
don't know if it was like
wow.
an I hate lesbians thing or like I
Mm.
don't really know because we don't know, it's anonymous,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the energy was so gross. So gross. And I felt so much better. Like I haven't felt 100% better. I've still had bad days, but it's not nearly as bad as it was prior to that.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I were talking, you were like clearing yourself, you were clearing Janet, you were
I'm
clearing
like,
the
what the
baby. And
fuck is
then when
going
you heard from Lindsay, it was like, oh, we had totally forgot about the
I forgot about that
sperm
guy.
donor.
Not in the picture.
We're
Yeah.
like, oh, right, that stuff. So I think that's interesting too, of just if you are getting sperm, to do some energetic checks around it. And like, could you help people clear their sperm energy
Absolutely.
beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that I know how.
Would they need to like have their sperm, or like how would that work?
I
If they told you like, hey, our donor is ABCD, you could check into that donor and see and clear
I feel like
ahead
you
of
should
time.
pick a donor who feels really good and aligned for you. And
Yeah.
then if stuff comes up, because their trauma might align with your trauma. So like maybe it won't hit you as hard, but I had done so much work prior
Yeah.
that like I knew it wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
She
after
was the cutest when you couldn't figure it out.
yeah,
Like you're so determined to heal. I
I
love
was
it.
so mad. I was like, I refuse to settle for this.
I will not suffer in pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we even talked a little bit about like your partner's impressions, right? Like
Mm.
maybe in order for your partner to know and be connected to the pregnancy, they have to see you having pregnancy symptoms, right?
And
So we
she
like,
did.
oh, she did.
I
See,
went in and
yeah,
shifted
we
for
cleared
her.
those out, right? And it's like it was just such a fascinating process to be a part of, and hear you moving through it, and how you really can fine tune and tweak things
It
with
can be
with
better.
psyche and healing. Yeah,
It can be better if you know what's
yeah,
going on. That's why I feel like I've taken myself as far as I can. Now I need to like sit in counseling and have somebody be able to point out those like patterns or like ask me a question. And then if I get defensive, like, oh, there's something there, like I need that to continue to do the work because I feel like
yeah,
I've gone as far as I can see.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about we've got all that cleared. It's been a real journey. I've been very quiet on
Ooh,
social media.
I know, but it's nice, and now we can talk about it freely without having to
I know I'm excited about that.
cover our mouths. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, and then Jess and I were talking before we started recording about Western medicine.
yeah,
And like we just had our first OB appointment. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll schedule an OB appointment because that's like what you do. That's what they
yeah.
say you do when you get pregnant.
Right.
You schedule an OB appointment and you get
Yeah.
an ultrasound and labs and whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do that. Even though like I full knew I'm gonna do a home birth.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
the way that the hospital system that we have our insurance through works is like they don't do home births. They won't.
Mm-hmm.
So I always knew I was going to go to a midwife. So like, why did I even go to this at first appointment? But
Yeah.
I went because I thought it's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to Jenna, I was like, I felt like cattle. Like,
Oh.
like there is one process and they
Mm-hmm.
walk you through it and you sign up for that process. And there was no questions about my birth plan. There was no, what do you want? How are you feeling? They're like, you need to exercise. Nobody was asking me how exercise was going for me. Like
Wow.
there was no, and it's not necessarily the people. I mean, I'm sure it's some of the people. But it's just this system. There is a one track
Yeah.
that they put you on through pregnancy. And I like don't agree with anything on that track. Like I don't agree with anything on that track.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go and do some midwife interviews because it's honestly gonna be cheaper to pay out of pocket for a midwife than do like copays with all of this and giving birth in a hospital. It's gonna be cheaper.
That's crazy.
I
And
know.
like, well, can you get ultrasounds with the midwife
Yeah.
if you want? You can.
And
Okay.
labs.
And
Yeah, like
labs.
you can
Okay.
get all of this stuff included, plus all of your prenatal visits and postnatal visits. And they come to your birth and they create
Yeah.
your birth plan and you get comfortable with them. And then they come to your house like a day after, and then 3 days after, and then a week after. Like they come to you.
Yeah.
And
And
it's just so nice.
what I'm hearing too, what I hear from a lot of my clients is like, it's about the baby, not about the mom, right? Or not about the
in Western
gestational
medicine,
parent.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, they're like, great, like you're, and it's just like this expectation of us that we are just like here for all of it. And it's like, no, please make it better for us.
I know. And I found myself getting like super defensive in the OB appointment, which I always do.
They did not know what they were walking into.
I'm like, Jenna, I don't work at that hospital anymore, but Jenna does. So like, I don't want to ruin her reputation.
So she's like, be nice, Natalie.
She did. She kind of elbowed me, but they said something like, oh, like, when was your last pap smear? And like, to be quite honest, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And so I told her when the last one I had was, and she was like, oh, well, we're going to get you a pap smear this next go around. And I was like, I can refuse anything.
Yeah.
And Jenna elbowed me. Yeah. And Jenna elbowed me. And I was like, you don't get to tell me that I have to do something just because you say I have to do something. Like, I get to refuse. You didn't ask me if I wanted a pap smear. You told me.
Yeah. Right.
And I think people who are not as accustomed to the medical system, like, can be bullied into things that they don't necessarily want or need. If like, there's no medical necessity for it. I'm not going to intervene in any way pre-pregnancy with a pap smear. So like, what's the point in putting me through that? And like the cramping and the bleeding, like I told her, I've already had one miscarriage. I can refuse that.
Yeah.
And another one.
Is it just like they want it, that my guides are just saying like, they just need to have something on record is what they're saying to me. Probably. Like that procedural stuff. Yeah.
I just don't feel strongly enough about it to like get it done pre-pregnancy. So I don't know. I feel so much for people who are not as medically literate and they get like cattle herded into this system and are not asked questions or not given all of the information. You kind of have to know this background information to be able to refuse. And I just wish there were like systems out there that educated women on like what you have to and don't have to do during pregnancy and how you can stand up for yourself in your OB appointments. Like, not everything is necessary. They overdo things to cover their own ass. Yes. It's not necessarily in your best interest. It's for liability.
No. And I was just trying to look up on my phone. There's a person I follow, and I can't think of her account. I always just search like birth or doula because I follow a bunch. But if I can find it, I'll tag it. I'll tag them. But they have a whole plan that's for Black women, especially because so imagine, like there's this track and then it's even harder for Black women. Right. Yeah. And she gives them this whole packet on like how to advocate, which is just amazing. And you don't have to be Black to use it, but she created it for her community and all the communities. But like this idea that like, you have so many rights and you can deny so many things. And, people just like to get in there and poke around because what else they got to do all day? Like that's their doctor thing. They don't want to just look around in there. And you can just say, no, I don't need to be touched there. Like, what's the point of this? You
don't need cervical checks if you don't feel like you want them. It's invasive. Like, you can literally refuse anything. And I wish more people knew that and felt more empowered to stand up for themselves. And that's why we're absolutely not going the medical route, like the Western medicine route. We're going to find a midwife. I'm going to go a different way. I just can't, it would reflect poorly on Jenna if we continue down this
exactly right. You'd be like, oh God,
I am aggressive.
Well, and when we were talking with Sarah, when she kind of like broke the news about being pregnant with all these wellness centers, this is what's kind of showing up for me is like, what a beautiful, like, kind of completion to this story to have those places that are very welcoming to people who want to have babies in a different way. Yeah.
Just because someone says something with authority does not make it correct.
Yeah. Remember that. You are the client, you are the customer.
You are in charge of your body and in charge of your baby. I hated it. It was so cringy. They were like, when your baby's in the hospital, this pediatrician is going to see them. This doctor is going to deliver you. And I was like, actually, I'm going to deliver myself, but you didn't ask.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's so frustrating.
Did you get a little sonogram picture?
I did. I sent you the one.
Oh yeah, you did. That's right.
They have little peg legs.
Their legs are like up in the air, like woo, party.
They were like kicking them on the ultrasound. It was really cute.
That's so cute. So what's the size of it now? The size of a what? A ladybug?
This week, according to my app, I use the Ovia app. It's the size of some fish. I don't know what the fish is.
A fish
or a kumquat. It's the size of a kumquat this week.
Oh, that's cute. That's little.
It's little. It's still really little.
Oh, wow. And they're going to be a Scorpio. We're pretty sure about that.
They are going to be
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain
Yeah.
about that.
Have fun with that.
I know.
You ready for a Scorpio?
No, actually, I have only
Two
ever
Geminis and a Scorpio.
I've only ever dated Scorpios.
Okay.
So I feel like it will go fine. I feel like I can understand their energy.
Yeah. You'd be like, do you want to wear any other colors besides black? No, mommy.
No. Okay. Me neither.
I just want to wear all black. You want some sparkles, some rhinestones? No, mommy.
No.
Black.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. That's fine with me.
That's fun.
Yeah.
What an exciting journey. This is how we originally met.
Yeah, it
Was
is.
through the miscarriage. So here we are, maybe a year and change or so later.
Almost 2 years, because it was 2020 when we miscarried.
Way.
Yeah. I know. After we
Wow.
miscarried, I was like, I'm not settling for this, and like immediately booked with you.
I love it. It's crazy though, because I will see clients, like I'll hear from them 6 months later, a year later. I just met a baby the other day that I talked to in utero, and it just, I love seeing them, and it's just so fun. And I think that's kind of what I want to tell people too, is that like, sometimes it takes time. I mean, pregnancy is 9 months. And if you're having, space between to get your cycle back for the next round or stuff like that, things can stretch out over years at times, and to not get too bogged down in the timing, because so many clients I've worked with have become pregnant after losses, and it's just very exciting. So,
it is. And the timing is, I think, the biggest challenge to detach from. We had specifically skipped this timing because we didn't want a Scorpio.
And yet
historically, and here we are.
That's interesting. Wait, tell me about that. So when you were trying before, you were like, let's hold off on this time.
Yeah, like,
why did you guys not want a Scorpio?
I'm cool for a Libra, like they sound fun. I'm cool for a Sag, but like never wanted a Scorpio.
And here they are, moving tattoo appointments, giving you intuition hits, making it work.
Right. Also trying to kill me slowly, but
that's another story.
We're going to figure that out.
Healing from the inside, mommy.
That's what they say. Oh, yeah. I'm so excited. My first counseling appointment, like I said, is tonight. And you've been doing counseling this year.
Yes. And, I have had some not so great experiences with counselors, but this counselor works with internal family systems, which in shamanism is family constellation. So it's similar types of work. And the idea is that, the shit that's going on in your lives has been going on in your family's lineage, and you're picking up pieces and parts of it and working through it. Right. So that, just knowing that was helpful, and being able to go to these core wounds and these core starting points in your life and in your ancestors' lives is where these pains started. So it's helped me to get a lot of empathy. But I was talking to her about being triggered. Right. And I was highly triggered, and I was in the situation. I wrote down like 4 pages of just being like triggered. And it was like the first time that I realized, oh, like that's not them, being jerks and assholes and trying to purposely make me feel this way, but their behaviors, what's going on, that kind of stuff was triggering me. And so I was, for the first time, able to identify that it's not them, it's me, in a real way. How you're like,
you can always conceptualize.
Like, I get it, but fuck them, really. Still, like, I was there. I was like, yeah, it's still their fault.
Okay.
And then, I was like, it's never me. Because it's just easy to blame, right? You're just like, finger pointing and never get anything done. And so it was just like this moment that I was telling you beforehand was like, oh, like I've healed that. I've changed that. And sometimes when you're doing healing work, you kind of pause and you forget to like look back and go, wait, I am reacting differently. I do feel differently about this stuff. I'm not as triggered, or when I was triggered, I was able to just write it out and process it. And so when I was telling my therapist about the situation, she's like, oh, so that person became dysregulated.
What does that mean?
Okay. So I loved it because this person was just having this like emotional reaction, which then I really felt, and that made me feel really uncomfortable. But it's like when you're regulated, like it's a nervous system level thing, right? So you feel safe, you feel calm, you feel happy, like you're kind of in this like state where, nothing is throwing you off. When you get dysregulated, something has happened to cause you to go into your trauma, your triggers, your
I am
responses. Yeah.
Oh my God, I am dysregulated right
Yeah.
now. Okay.
Yeah. And so you start to like, you're off essentially, you're out of regulation. And so everything can be irritated and everything can be off, and it can be the smallest, most minuscule thing. But to you, it's like, whoa, an explosion, because you're responding in a traumatic state or a trauma state.
I just feel like I'm in fight or flight.
Totally. So, and it can be the most mundane thing. And I think that's the weirdest thing. It's like a coffee cup. Why can't I say
coffee cup? Coffee cup. Are you dysregulated?
A coffee cup like spills over, and that could be like the end of the world for you because of some related trauma, blah, blah, blah. You're dysregulated. So once she kind of gave me that language, I was like, oh, okay. So the next time I see somebody doing that, before my empathic energy is to like envelop myself and become a part of that, it's just putting up boundaries and just being like, oh, that person over there is dysregulated. And then I can send, because this is what I do, just loving, calm, regulation energy towards them without having to say anything or do anything or whatever, but just I can make my environmental space and those around me feel that, right? Versus his energy or their energy or whatever was going on. So it was just really interesting to be like, okay. And if it's helpful, it's that this person is having an experience and they almost can't contain it, right? That's why it's spilling out. That's why it's yucky and toxic and annoying. But if you see them as doing that, not because they're a mean person or a bad person, but because they are themselves triggered and trauma, a lot of times they're not aware of it though. And I think that's the hard part,
is becoming aware.
You want them then to become aware of that. And so how do you give them feedback or talk in a way that lets them know, hey, you need to regulate yourself, bro.
Yeah. I'm going to sit down in counseling tonight and be like, I am dysregulated.
Yeah. Should be like, ooh, fancy therapy word there. Yeah. And it's like your own self too. It's like, when you think about things and you're in a panic state, it's like, doing the breathing work, right? Getting your vagus nerve back, that's the best way to kind of do that breath work is, it will help you. Breathing will help you regulate your system. It's your nervous system's out of whack.
I feel like all of this stuff coming, not to make it all about me, but I feel like all of this
Gemini.
It's true. I've been so all consumed with this, like not feeling well stuff.
Yeah.
It's just been like taking over my whole life. Like, I don't know how to cope with feeling like shit for weeks on end.
Yeah.
So I feel really prickly. But I've been going to acupuncture, right? To like regulate my nervous system. Yeah. I had the worst acupuncture experience this week.
What happened?
Everything hurt. Every needle she put in made that limb go numb. It bruised, it bled, every single needle. And she was like, we should probably take a break. And I was like, why is this not working? I'm doing this so that I can become regulated.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting.
My guides are saying that there's another method for you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I'm over needles.
Yeah. And just to they say the further advice for everybody listening is that just because a method worked for somebody else or even worked for you or worked for a little while doesn't mean that it will continue to. And that is also just like what they're kind of saying to me is like, that's just like you stepping onto your own version of a track that you mentioned. Oh, this is what I do. This is the track. It's like, they don't want any of us to get stuck in assumptions. They want us to be always conscious of, do I need this acupuncture appointment today? Like, just because, like really check in with it versus just like, oh, my acupuncturist said 10 appointments or whatever. I don't know, and yes, you don't want to like, just like diss your acupuncturist and their advice. Love my acupuncturist, but just like, they're just showing me like, be aware, be checked in. They just kind of keep saying to me, like, be checked in all the time with what you're doing to your body.
Yeah.
What you're taking in, what healer you're meeting with, massage therapist, all that stuff, like be aware of it. So
yeah. So how do you know when you or someone else is like dysregulated? Do you just feel it, or are there like key signs?
I see it, I feel it, I hear it. It's all the things. So usually for me, it's a tone of voice.
Oh, really?
Because
you can tell in the tone? Like in anybody or in specific people like that you're close to?
Anybody.
Okay. Is it high pitch? Is it higher pitch, like a stress tone?
Yeah. This is how I'll describe it to you. It's like emotionless.
Emotionless, like no emotion in
Emotionless.
it.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
like this, there's no there's no feeling in it. It's just this very it's very direct. It's
uh-huh.
harsh
Oh
energy.
yeah.
It's as if you're being attacked, like when if you just like, it's like a yes, no, black, white, very intense
Okay.
and that
Very
kind of
harsh.
it's like very like, whoa, versus like, if somebody would just say like no versus like no, like I can just tell
You can
like where
tell.
they are.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will usually like see colors around them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my next layer is like seeing like where the anger is or where the frustration is or where the dysregulation is coming from. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's this part, it's this part, it's this part. And then the third part is I will then see everybody else around them and I can read their reactions to the dysregulation as well. So then I can see
Mm.
like the shock, the horror, the clenching energy of people
The
around,
tensing, the
the eyes looking
bracing.
down, the
Yeah.
bracing, that kind of stuff. So even if you think you're being subtle as an energetic empath, ooh, I can feel that.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like super uncomfortable for me because it's their dysregulation, everybody else is around me. And I'm a very much like, okay, what do I need to do? How
Mm-hmm.
do I need to survive this? Do I make a joke? Do I stay quiet and hide? Do I
How
go to the
can I?
bathroom? Do I
Yeah.
get a drink? Like, what do I do? So I'm sitting there like that. So I will also notice myself moving out of just regular mode and into like fight or flight, freeze, fawn,
Trying to
whatever.
fix. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, so then I'm like, okay, somebody around me is dysregulated because I'm moving into this space.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm aware of it, sometimes not as much, but then I really was. Yeah. And it's just, I think what my guys are kind of saying too is like, there's like an irrationalness to it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually like a heatedness to it. People like will talk really fast or they'll completely shut down. So like, you might
Mm-hmm.
need to know the person and kind of know their behaviors or mannerisms, but it's usually like if they were one way and then they've changed, whether it's a more heightened or a shut down, that's kind of a sign too. But I like pay attention to people for my life.
It's like, it's what you do. Yeah.
I was like, I have so much stored. And it's funny because I said that to my therapist. I was like, I have so many like files stored about people,
Mm-hmm.
and like how they're going to act. And it's very accurate. I was like, this is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to react. This is 100%. We have to prepare for this.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, maybe I can just throw out those files and just let people be who they are and give them opportunities to be different. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because energetically
Yeah.
if I have files on them,
You're setting them up
and
for failure in a way.
right. Or just
Yeah.
like for me, like safety and success so that I know how to handle it. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't need those anymore because I have more self-regulation. I have more boundary and I have more protection now. So if I can get rid of those files, then I'll have more spaciousness to do what I want to do. So that really excited me. But yeah, if you've been a people pleaser, you probably have a whole list of things to do and not do around certain people, eggshell walking people,
Mm-hmm. I know I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So just recycle them.
Yeah.
Burn them in a bonfire, let them go, and let the people just be
Let people surprise
themselves,
you.
be dysregulated if they need to, and know that, you can protect yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go and take care of them.
I feel like that's been an internal, like a mental thing I've become more aware of lately. In my meditation too this morning, my guides were like, you're bracing yourself. I feel like I'm in a constant state of like bracing myself. And I'm hoping
with this pregnancy
can help me like break it down. Yeah. And like, that's what's making the physical symptoms maybe exacerbated or worse or more intense, is because I am already like so on edge energetically that I feel like I'm constantly bracing myself for the next like terrible symptom. Like I told you, I projectile vomited yesterday, and I haven't done that since college when I got alcohol poisoning. And that was awful. That was really, it was very violent. And I had to sit and process it for a minute.
I'm just looking at that and feeling into that.
Reading my energy.
I know, sorry.
That's okay.
What's the benefit to bracing?
I don't know, it just feels like I'm trying to be prepared, but like I can't be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. My guides are saying like, give yourself like a parachute. Like give yourself like, cause what they're showing you with the bracing is like, it's like this, right? There's always like a little like kickback from bracing. And it is important to brace because it kind of lets you kind of be like, okay, like you kind of know that symptoms are coming. You kind of know that the earlier symptoms you've had have been sort of, so it's common, they say, or it's like, you're in a place where it's natural to brace, but they're saying like, could you give yourself a better setup that still provides that protection, but like a parachute's a little bit like softer, or could you give yourself like a seat belt, or like a pillow, or just something that like lets you like feel protected, because like you maybe know things are still coming, and that's that's smart to realize like you're pregnant, like there are a lot of that's what it is, there's a lot of unknowns coming,
yes,
from all kinds of things,
feels
and
very
so
out of my control.
yes,
yeah.
And so like when we face those things in life, as we do often, what is your bracing mechanism, and can you create a softer, gentler, easier way to deal with the stuff that we kind of know may or may not be coming, right? But like, it's like, you want to be prepared. You don't want to just be like, oh shit, what?
Yeah, blindsided.
But you're like, okay.
I'm right. I feel like like a puffer fish. Like anything that happens, I'm like
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So like, what's a softer, gentler way? A lot of what I tell my clients is just trust that you will be able to handle it. Right? Like trust that like when it comes up, you don't necessarily need to brace for impact, that like when it comes up, you're like, okay, it's here, I'm going to handle it. Right? Like, have it show up softer.
Okay.
Have it knock on the door gently and lightly. Be like, hi, can I come in? Is it okay if we start puking now? Okay, no, okay. You know what I mean? Like softer, ask it to be kinder and softer. And I think they're just showing me that like you like intense experiences.
Oh my God, no, make it stop. Is this the child? Because like I don't necessarily want these intense experiences consciously. Maybe there's an unconscious part of me that enjoys that. We're gonna have a talk with her.
It makes you feel alive, is what I feel like. It makes you feel like here.
Like I'm here.
Both good and not so good. You like the like when you want to feel something, you like to feel it in a kind of a way. So
is that just, I think, like amplified in first trimesters for everybody? Is like the wanting to feel something.
Yeah.
It's like a general rule or like a general thing is like why some people feel like so shitty in the first trimester.
They're kind of, my guides are kind of saying like, it's a reminder to be like, you are pregnant.
Like,
don't work out like you normally would, because you are pregnant. Don't drink and eat food, whatever, because you are pregnant. Like, it's just that reminder of like, hey, there's something different, even though it might not feel or look that different yet. Like it's very different. And there are certain things you need to do, like body wise, food wise, all that stuff to support it. So we're just going to click on all the switches and make them all feel gross so that you pay attention.
But like, can I have cake back? Because like cake sounds gross, and that was a real serotonin boost.
Cake sounds gross. Try a different flavor, they said.
Okay.
Yeah, try vanilla or strawberry, or I don't know, whatever flavors cake's coming. Funfetti. Yeah. Okay. So they're saying that. So if things feel gross or weird, keep trying, keep coming back to them, try different versions of them, or, flavors, that kind of stuff, to see if that works.
That's good advice. And it might change day by day too.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't love it.
I love that you're just being so honest and open about it, and that, this is real life. And this is what happens when you get pregnant. Sometimes, you have to go through these things and move through them and heal them and understand them. And it's all part of it.
It is. I'm excited to be on the other side of it with like a little bit more clarity and understanding.
What do you mean?
Of like why I call this experience in, because this is not what I was like visualizing. This is not what I was trying to manifest. And I get so upset when like the image that I'm trying to call in, like I was trying to call it in for so long, to have like a symptomless, healthy pregnancy. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to just be smooth sailing, easy, comfortable. Like I made all these changes in my life to have space for it. And then I was so upset. And I think there's a lot of grief there about it not coming through in the way that I had wanted it to. It's coming through in a much more uncomfortable way. And now it's bringing up fears about like labor, delivery, like I want it to go a certain way. And like, now is that all going to be thrown out under the table? Like, those are things I need to start thinking about instead of having like such a specific vision for how I want it to go, instead focusing on like how I want to feel, because that's really all I can control.
I love that. And my guides are just chiming in that your pregnancy, you signed up for the collective as well.
Yeah. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad, because they're like saying it again. They're like, remind her of that. In the sense that like, if everything was fine, we wouldn't be talking about this right now, probably.
It's true. But is there a different way? Is there a better way?
Here's the other thing that they're kind of showing to me. Like, were you ever allowed to be like sick or uncomfortable when you were a kid? Like, was that ever okay? Like, how were you treated when you weren't feeling well as a kid by your parents or your family?
I don't know. I don't really like remember a whole bunch of that. I don't remember not feeling well.
I know, that's what they're kind of showing me, is like, there's this like, sort of impression that like feeling this way, feeling sick, feeling bad is like a bad thing, versus like, when I hear you talk about it, I'm like, well, you're growing an alien baby in your body. Like, what do you expect to feel like? And like, what if you could just like honor and like spend less energy, like trying to magic it away, and just being like, okay, it's here. This is what I'm feeling. And then I'm going to regulate it. Okay, it's here. Like, there's just this feeling of like, if you're feeling this way, then your manifestation is off and But I just feel like that's not necessarily true. That like, maybe why you're feeling this way is for you to be okay and comfortable with feeling this way.
I don't want to be. I think that's the problem. Like, I don't want to settle for
resistance.
I can't wait to dive into this.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. It's like, because I love that you're like, no, nothing bad in my life ever, kind of a thing. Yeah. Don't want to get out of here. And I love that you do so much work around that. But like, sometimes I feel like they're here for a reason, these feelings, these emotions, these expressions, and they're here for you to get curious about why they're here. That's what they're saying to me.
Yeah.
They're not going to go away until you come to peace with why they may be here. Yeah.
I feel that. That's why I think that was like the push for me to like go to counseling, is just like, I don't have the coping skills that I want to be able to regulate myself when I feel like shit.
Boom.
Yeah.
And because you've never really felt like shit, right? No. And now you're like here, and like, maybe what you learn from this counselor, right, and talking about this experience with the collective will help both your business, the collective, all that great stuff, and yourself postpartum, when you have, because like, now you're gonna have this baby, and like, what they're showing me is like, how do you know how this baby's gonna make you feel?
I don't. Yeah. Right. I know.
And so getting those regulation tools working now will help you.
Yes.
I've asked my guides so many times about this, and they're like, it's not bad. It's not bad. I was like, okay.
Trade places.
It's not bad, but it's here to help you get through it and work through it. And you have been like a boss at that.
I hope so.
You're like, absolutely not. What are we doing next? And I admire that. I mean, I really do. Cause it's like, a lot of people just sit and suffer, and you don't have to.
I know. Yeah. I saw a TikTok again about boomers saying like, we should all respect them because they have such a large capacity for misery. Like, it's so true. They don't even try to change it. They're just like, I'll just be miserable. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, I know. Just some of the comments I hear from boomers, I'm just like,
it can be different, right? Like,
yeah. You can enjoy your life. It's okay.
Full permission. Yeah. Okay.
You can do it. You can do it.
So do you have any tips for people? Obviously we talked about being dysregulated, so maybe they know when they're dysregulated.
Yeah.
How do you know when you've finally like healed from something?
I think it comes in self-reflection. And I think that's why Spirit has been giving that advice for so long, is you can do all this work, and then you have to integrate it, which is great. And a lot of people are doing the work and they're integrating it. But then the third part of that work, integration, reflection, is to reflect and to go back to old journals and to go back to previous situations and to look at things and just be like, I actually have changed. I don't feel as triggered. Like you have to bring that awareness into yourself. And when you do, it like clicks. And I feel like it moves in your body from like this place of like up here to like in your heart or in your gut where you're like, I'm actually okay. You know, when you're like, I'm not mad at that person anymore. And then like you're secretly still are. And then when you do the work and you realize like, oh, this person doesn't trigger me anymore. And then you can see them and just be like, nothing, no trigger, no, just like, okay. And then they're doing their same behavior where you're like, hey, here's the thing. And they're like, great. And then they like never do anything with it. And before that would irritate you, you're just like, cool. They have the thing, they know what to do when they need it. And like, peace be with them. Like,
Nothing to do with me. Yeah.
You don't spin, you don't worry. They're not like in your orbit. You know, that's kind of how I know. It's just like, oh, they're not in my orbit anymore. I'm not worrying or ruminating. It's just like, it's free. So self-reflection, that's what I would say. What do you think?
I love that. I think that's true. It is in self-reflection. And that's what I tell people after Psych-K sessions.
Yeah.
We've been shifting a bunch of stuff. I'll take notes for them in my sessions. They'll always have a list of everything that they shifted. And I tell them, don't look at this list. Give it a couple days, give it a week, whenever you feel called, and then come back and reflect, because like this stuff is gonna change, but you maybe won't notice it until you're looking at it in hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've done so much work with you and my mom and just, you know, feeling, you know, confident and powerful to say things. And, you know, she says a lot of stuff about diet culture that really irritates me at times and bothers me at times. And I think that story that you told about, you know, like a nephew or a niece and how you kind of gave the other statement. So I did that with my mom. She was making a statement. And I just made a, you know, like she said, oh, that girl is so skinny or whatever. And I just said, maybe she's just naturally, you know, that's her natural body type. And then she was just like, oh, okay. So it was just like, oh, like it was like, you know, moving on to the next thing. And it felt good from my perspective because I need to like stand up to that energy and not let it, you know, just linger in the air. And so me being able to do that kind of diffuses it for me. If I didn't say anything, it would stick to me and be a part of me and I'd be thinking about it all day. So now I just diffuse it. So I don't let things in anymore. I just diffuse things.
I love that. Yeah. And you're not trying to like teach her a lesson. You're just saying it mainly. Oh God. No. Yeah. Like she's not going to receive that.
You cannot change people.
No.
I was talking with a client and I was like, until we find that magic wand again, where we can change people, you cannot change people. And it's like, that's a hard one to learn. But once you learn it and like really learn it, not just really like up here, but like think you can secretly do it because you're powerful. Once you really learn that you can't change them, you can really change yourself and your reactions. Oh, it's life-changing.
So freeing.
So freeing. And we don't, you know, it's not okay if they're doing bad behavior or whatever. Like you're not just going to sit there and take it. You actually will have the gumption to get up and walk away or protect yourself or draw boundaries.
Yeah. And I feel like you'll know you've healed when setting a boundary, when like the boundary doesn't also evoke an emotional response. Yes. I've noticed that a lot with men when they like say or do something and then I'll like react and like an emotionally, or like I'll be really assertive, but it's angry assertive, not neutral assertive. Then there's still like something there. It's like me with the medical system. I'm still angry assertive.
And it's just like, it's good to notice that too, to be like, okay, looks like I gotta like diffuse a little bit of that before I go back into the system again or whatever, you know. It's like the more insight and awareness you can have about it, the more you can do stuff to help yourself in those situations. I love that. I know it's well, I think too, it's just, you know, I kind of asked about my guys. I was like, am I just going to be like healing forever? And they're like, all of us are healing.
Essentially. That's why you're
all
here.
Of us are healing. Like, don't like get tripped up that you have more to do or less to do. Like everybody's healing. Now, some people aren't as aware and connected and into it as you are, but like we are all here to, you know, heal old karmas, make new karmas, you know. It's and we get so caught up with the Western medical around healing, like this brokenness and this but healing, you can see it as just we can see that as coming into regulation, right? It doesn't have to be something so broken or so bad that, you know, needs to be fixed. More just like it can just be out of alignment. You can just come back into an alignment around something. So
I love that. Snaps to that. What a great episode. This was really fun.
It was.
Anybody?
Yeah. Sorry if we did.
All right. Stuff to look at though. Just giving you content to work on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, I was excited when I was like, oh, this is all my shit. It's a nice place to be when you can realize, that it's yours to work on and to heal. And, I mean, sometimes when you do that healing work, especially inner child stuff, it can be so sad that you experience that. And, just having a lot of empathy and a lot of grief around what you've been through. Like my inner child has done so much just to survive. She's like, I needed to survive, not to survive, and I was like, cool, we made it.
Let's start living.
And like, let's get some new tools and let's get some new ways of being. And so, part of it is I wish I would have known this sooner, which is why I want to help kids from the get, so that they have these tools and they're ready to go.
This is why we do this work.
That's why we do it.
Yes. We want to help you get off the struggle bus.
Yes. And have babies.
Yay.
All right. I'm so excited when they're going to be a guest on the podcast.
The baby?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh my God. Oh, that'll be a day. I don't know. I feel like they're going to have a mouth on him. I don't know.
Hopefully a good one for suckling.
Fingers crossed. Okay. So this episode, we are doing Jess is traveling. She's going to Spain for several weeks on a pilgrimage of sorts. So we're going to be releasing episodes every other week for the just foreseeable future. Yeah. Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah. We just got a lot. And you'll miss us, but we'll miss you more.
Yeah. And we'll just have that much more to talk about when we come back. So
that's true.
This is coming out. And then in a couple weeks, we will have another new episode. And that is going to be another guest episode with my wife's healer. And I can't wait to introduce you to her.
Yes. And if you have recommendations for guests who would do
well,
let us know. Cause we want to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited that we're doing this. Okay. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.